So a little bit about us and ERPfixers before we get started is our goal is to provide a trusted workspace for SAP users and consultants to connect, collaborate, and succeed. Now, what that means is companies win with the best talent. But when you're dealing with SAP experts, it can be hard to find that talent with reliability. And that's why we created a trusted online workspace, which is ERPfixers. And what we do is we connect SAP users with skilled professionals all around the world. We work hands on with your team and what your individual needs are. So, whatever assistance you need, we help you find the right system. We help you find the right experts as well to fuel your success with SAP. ERPfixers At ERPfixers, we work relentlessly to find the best solutions for you. So that's a little bit about us. Some additional things are SAP implementation and support, best practices, material ledger conversion, enhanced cost component reports, and SAP S/4HANA traditional roadmaps, which is a big topic now. So if you guys need any assistance, what I've gone ahead and done is list the contact us link inside of the chat. Book a time with us. Let's see how our synergies can collide and if we can help your team out. So without further ado, we're going to jump over to introducing the speaker, and then we'll get started with the presentation. Very honored to have Dr. Robbie here. So Dr. Robbie is an SAP S/4HANA conversion and upgrade architect, which is amazing. He's working with SAP solutions for more than 21 years, which is fantastic to see. This is a true expert. He's been working on Rise. He works with SAP Private Cloud. You name it, he's done it. He's also SAP certified, and he's a solutions architect. So what we've done at ERPfixers and why we like to have these sessions is we find experts, vetted experts in these individual fields. So without further ado, thank you so much, Dr. Ravi. Take it away.
Thank you so much.
Mm.
So I once again warm welcome every one of you to attend this session, SAP Cloud ALM. So during this 1 hour webinar, I will provide an overview on SAP Cloud ALM and how that will be helpful in accelerating Rise with SAP Private Cloud or Grow with SAP Public Cloud implementation projects, and wherein I will also demonstrate some of the key features in the Cloud ALM. At the end, we can also have a Q&A. Till then, you please park your questions on a piece of paper. We will jump on a Q&A session once my presentation is over. So ALM is Application Lifecycle Management. It is an SAP cloud-based solution that helps SAP Rise with SAP or Grow with SAP cloud implementations and the cloud landscapes for the customers to implement SAP S/4HANA. So this tool can be or will be useful starting from design phase to the deploy phase. And even post-implementation, this tool will be helpful to provide an overview about the defects, and we can analyze the defects, if any, and we can correct them, and we can also automate the solution. By that way, even post-implementation also, this tool will be, Cloud ALM tool will be very much useful for the SAP customers. Especially my presentation is, I am only confining my presentation for the implementations part. This tool will be useful starting from design phase to the deploy phase. So that may be for the purpose of project management or solution documentation or requirement management or process management or task management or test management. Even in case of deployment orchestration also, this tool will be useful. That means starting from design phase to the deploy phase, this tool, Cloud ALM solution, will be very much useful for the cloud-centric solutions on the landscapes. There are several apps in the Cloud ALM. Those apps are subdivided into phase-wise. I will show you on the system. This is a Cloud ALM launchpad. Here you can see implementation part and the operations part. These are the tiles related to implementation part. This is a space, and these are all different sections, and these are all different apps that will be used in the implementation process. So in the operations, you can see there are different tiles or apps that will be useful for the operations. So as far as now implementation is concerned, there are different sections. First section is preparation section. The other section is design, build, and test section. And the third one is analytics section. So these three sections are part of implementation process. So in the cloud, in the ALM launchpad. So if I go back here, during setup phase, we use tiles projects and setup, and cross-project analysis, landscape management, and user management. These are the tiles we use. And during design phase, these are the tiles we use. During the build phase, these are the tiles we use. During test phase, these are the tiles we use. So by that way, starting from setup to deploy, we have different tiles that we will be able to use to track the activities of the implementation project. So let's take an example here. During once the system administrator takes up the system, he creates user IDs using user management app. So this is the tile global administrator uses to create user IDs of the implementation team. So he will also assign necessary authorizations to the team using this tile. Then global administrator will also use the landscape management tile in order to pull all the public cloud or private cloud systems into the Cloud ALM. So these are the two important apps out of these four apps. In the first phase of the in the system setup phase, global administrator will use these two tiles. One is user management tile, the other one is landscape management tile. These two tiles, tag management and external API management. External API management tile will be useful to pull or to integrate our cloud system to the external cloud systems. This tile will be used, and tag management is the tile where you will be able to display all the tags that are associated with the different tasks or requirement. That is how in the initial phase, in the setup phase of the implementation project, global administrator will use user management tile in order to create the user IDs of the team, and landscape management tile in order to pull the systems to the Cloud ALM. These two tiles are important. Once the users are created, once system is pulled, then he go back to the project setup under the preparations and setup section, projects and setup tile, and where he will create the project. So either global administrator creates the project or project manager also will create the project. So to create the project, he uses this button, create button, like name of the project, for example, ERPfixers SAP implementation project. Like he will give status of the project and other details of the project. So to create the project, we can also connect to the SAP Activate roadmap viewer wherein you have different templates. We can also pull relevant template. For example, we are doing a public cloud implementation project. We can also pull the same template to our project. Once you pull the same template, the activities from this template will automatically flow in. The tasks from the template will automatically flow in. So we do not need to manually build the task. So whatever task that we have in the standard Activate roadmap viewer, those tasks will automatically pulled to the Cloud ALM. By that way, administrator or project manager can avoid creating the tasks manually. So once the template has been pulled, he will also make the current phase. It is a discovery phase or a prepare phase, whatever it is. And we can also pull or integrate central business configuration system to the Cloud ALM by this way. You can also integrate other CBC system, other cloud system, whatever you have, we can also integrate and save. So once you give general information, you go back and edit, and so that you will be able to give the time boxes for discovery phase, starting from which date to which date. Similarly, you will be able to give phases: prepare phase, when it starts, when it ends; release phase, when it starts, when it ends; deploy phase, run phase, and so on. These are the 5 standard phases of the Activate methodology. However, if you have any other non-standard phase, you can also add non-standard phase like application management support that starts from so and so date to so and so date. By that way, you will be also able to add non-standard phases, if any, to the Cloud ALM. We can also give sprints, if at all, if any. Sprint number 1 starts from so and so date to so and so date. Sprint number 2, sprint number 3. By that way, you will be able to give the details of the sprint also here. Then you can also give milestones, like when the project kickoff start. Project kickoff started on July 1st, for example. Planned go live date is, this is the planned go live date, and actual go live date, this is the, for example, this is the actual go live date. So this is how you will be able to give important milestones in the projects. We can also add different non-standard milestones also to the Cloud ALM. Once you give that, you can also give team information, like who is the project lead, who is the technical architect, who is the solution architect, who is the developer, and other details we will be able to give here. And once you give, you can go back to the scope, and you can create the scope of the project. There are 2 ways we can get the scope. One is you can also create the scope from digital discovery assessment file, if any, or you can also manually create the file scope. An example, for example, we are doing SAP S/4HANA Public Cloud. So Public Cloud finance scope. So or you can also give functional scope. So you can also give either you can limit to one area. You can also give a combined scope. You can choose here 2402. So we can also pull the best practices content here to the scope and save. Once the scope has been created, there are now our scope is public cloud best practices, but there are many scope items here. We can also choose the scope items from the bundle. So these are the scope. There are 8-10 scope items, but if at all, if you do not need all the scope items, you will be able to choose them manually. one after the other based on the digital discovery assessment that you have conducted with the customer. So by that way, out of 8, 10, I have chosen 4 to 5 and I ended scope. Now this is for example, my 50 or 60 or scope items out of 8, 10 within this implementation project. So we can later, for example, if a client is interested to add some of the scope items from the public cloud total scope items, they will be able to add those scope items also. If client is not interested in the sum of the scope items that we have already chosen, he can also ignore them. We can also delete them from the list. So that is how the scope has been created in the tile implementation, this the project's setup tile. And you can also create deliverables. By default, these are the deliverables SAP, this tool is proposing. So these deliverables are proposed by SAP based on the standard content we have pulled from roadmap viewer. However, if you have any additional deliverables, you can also create them additional deliverables here. This is how now in this style, we can set up project, we can manage scope, we define team, we can also set up the timelines using projects and setup tile. So that is how the projects and setup tile is. Later, once the projects and setup tile has been successfully completed, he goes to the manage scope tile in order to verify the scope items, if any, that are to be added. So now the total 8, 10 scope items, but we have chosen 5 scope items. If at all, if he wants to add more scope items, after talking with after having discussion with the customer, he will be able to add more scope items to the project. So to have more scope items to the project, he goes here and goes to process scoping, and he can add scope items. Even at later stage also, he will be able to add more scope items to the project. Then end scoping. During implementation phase, at any moment of time, implementation team can add the scope items by this way. So now this is how the scope items have been added to the SAP Cloud ALM. Once the scope items are added, what do is usually we conduct fit to standard workshops to show the best practices content to the customer, and we ask them to validate the best practices content if that suits to the customer business processes or not. In order to do that, we start executing business processes one after the other. So our project is ERPfixers is our project, and our scope is best practices scope. How many items we have? 7 items. Then we start executing these business processes to the client. While we are executing these business processes, it is a show and tell session. Fit to standard workshop is if client required on top of these or something that is different from the standard best practices, he will be able to create a requirement at the process itself. See here, this is how we can create a requirement against a process. Now, for example, here core data services, against this, we are creating a requirement. Now, for example, say we want to create, our customer wants CDS views for finance reporting. For example, this is how we create a new requirement. And if at all, if you have any user story for this requirement, you can assign the user story. And if at all, if you have any sub project task, you can assign the sub project task. If at all, if you have any feature already developed, you can assign the feature. And if at all, if you have any test case to test this new requirement, you can also assign the test case. And if at all, if you have any process hierarchy, you can assign here. If at all, if you have any relevant documents for the new requirement, if client has given some PDF forms or some scripts or something, we can also assign those against to the new requirement. And references, if any, like web URL, you will be able to give URLs. For example, some article you have read against this requirement, you can give that requirement URL also here. And additional information, if any, like is this requirement is approved or in approval? Is this requirement status is very high, priority is very high? How much efforts it takes? 50 hours it takes, for example, say. And what is the time box when this requirement is to be done in the prepare phase or in the explore phase, where this, and duration, number of days, and who will do. This information will be given involved parties and work streams. This is the information. After giving this information, we save the requirement. That is how we can create the requirement against each business process when we are conducting fit to standard workshops. Or you can also create the requirement using requirement app. In the implementation space, we can also see the requirement app. You can also go to the requirement app. You can manually create here. You can manually create here. You can manually, for example, say it is accounts payable. Accounts payable. You can, like this, you can also manually create user story. You can assign user story. You can also assign project task in order to create a requirement manually in the requirement app. So once you give complete details about the new requirement that we create, you can save and close the requirement. You can filter how many requirements we have in our implementation against our scope items. You can also see the total requirements in our implementation. There are one requirement that we have created. This is one requirement. So you can also filter the requirements based on their status in requirement, in approval, in relation, in testing, successfully tested. So there are one requirement. So by this way, you can create requirements either at the time of fit to standard workshops, at the standard business process, or you can create a requirement manually, or you can also upload the requirements. For example, say, you can also upload the requirements. If at all, if you have any Excel file, an example, just if at all, if you have any Excel file, you can also, for example, like this, you can also upload the requirements. Requirements. By that way, requirements can be created directly at the process itself, or you can manually create, or you can also upload from the spreadsheets. So if requirement status, you can also see here, you can change the requirement. If this requirement no longer needed, you can block the requirement. So you can, if requirement is confirmed, you can change the requirement status. So by that way, you will be able to go and see the requirement. And you can also see here, some of the requirements are pre-approved, no approval required. You can also set, and you can also set the timelines. You can also, for example, at the end, after approval, after confirm, this requirement is set to inactive. You can also set this requirement inactive, or you can set obsolete. So like this, you can also manage the requirement at the requirements app. That means in the requirements app, you will be able to create the requirement. You can manage the requirement. You can delete the requirement. You can set obsolete. You can also upload the requirements. You can also manually create the requirements using requirements app. You can also do the same from the processes also, but it is a dedicated app. Once requirement has been created, you can see them in the tasks list. How this is our project is ERPfixers is the project. I wanted to see you can also see here type only requirements. I can see there are two requirements. The one is manually created and other one is created at process level. There are two requirements. You can also, that means you can also track them in the task app. So you can bifurcate, you can filter tasks based on is a roadmap task, or is a task is a requirement, or it is a quality gate related task, or it is a subtask, it is a user story or a project task. You can also filter them based on the type of the task. So there are 287. Out of 287, there is one task related to requirement. There are two tasks related to requirements. By that way, you can also filter them. So this is how a task, you can also manually create a task. You can also manually create a task. You can also manually create project task or user story or requirement or defect. You will be able to manually create them. You can also, different tasks can also be created. And you can also upload them also. You can, if at all, if you have any file, Excel file related to task, you can also so by this way, you will be, it's not in a correct file. That is the reason it is showing error. Only to understand, we can create the task here. We can upload the task. We can also create task in form of a requirement or roadmap task or a project task or a user story or a subtask. Different types we will be able to create. For example, you wanted to understand, for example, now if you see here, you can use this functionality tag, you see the tag functionality. For example, this is the requirement at cutover, but there is no filter called cutover task. Cutover, you can manually create a tag cutover task. Click here, cutover task. Save and close. So this is again, go back, cutover task. So now if you see here, I wanted to filter my cutover tasks. I have added one tag. So I can search here with the tag called cutover for my project. How many cutover tasks that we have? One. By that way, you can also use tags. You can also create tags to filter the tasks based on your own way. So the tags is very important functionality. If existing filters are not sufficient to meet the filtering criteria, you will be able to use tags. You can create your own tag. It does not need any coding. So you'll be able to create your own tag, assign those tags to the list. For example, you have, if at all, if it is only one item, one cutover item, you are manually doing. For example, there are several items. Then what you can do is, you can download them in an Excel sheet. For example, there are these. So this is the Excel sheet. You can give here a tag. In the tag column. You can give that update. So you can give that update in the tag. So you can give that update, and automatically once you give that update, and you will be able to again upload them. You can fill and so by that way, you will be able to do mass change also to the task using download and upload updated. So by that way, you will be able to use the tag functionality to filter the tags. And if you see here, there are 289 tasks. You can also verify the time boxes. This is the task to be, what are the tasks related to prepare phase. These are the tasks related to prepare phase. So there may be a timeline. We haven't given our project timelines. If we have given project timelines, so that will be shown here. If you wanted to change those timelines, you can also change those timelines here. You can also change the custom select date. Custom date, you will be able to give your own date for against each task. So by that way, system proposes timelines based on the preparation phase timelines, based on the discovery phase timelines that we have given in the project setup. If you wanted to give those dates manually, you will be able to give dates manually using this functionality. See here, there is another link here. Actually, you can see another link here with which you can go into the SAP system, because SAP system will be connected with the Cloud ALM. The task that you can directly perform from the Cloud ALM, you will be able to go into the SAP system using the link here, and you can perform and you can save and come back here. That is how some of the tasks that you have to perform in SAP system, public cloud system or private cloud system, you will be able to go from the cloud ALM itself to perform those tasks. And once you complete the task activity in the system, you come back here and you can also change the status, open, done against each task. That is how you will be able to use the tasks related. Yeah. Once task is completed, usually what happens is we will verify the, we will create some quality gates. So from preparation phase to the explore phase, from explore phase to the realization phase, from realization phase to the deploy phase, from deploy phase to the run phase, what do we do is, in order to move from one phase to the other phase, we create some quality gates. For example, say, let me create a quality gate, quality gate 1 from preparation phase to explore to realization phase or to explore phase. We write the content. You can also create the checklist. What are the things that you have to perform? So to move from preparation phase to explore phase, or explore phase to realization phase to deploy phase to run phase, different gates we create, and we also establish the checklist here. Once that checklist is created, we save. So once the phase has been completed, we execute the checks that are defined in the quality gate and move further to the subsequent phases. Likewise, the quality gate app in the implementation space, this tile will be useful. Now, process authoring is the tile that helps to create your own business process. That means you have seen there are standard business processes that are flown from SAP Activate methodology and SAP Roadmap Viewer and SAP best practices. But some of the business processes that are defined by customer, you will be able to create here using process authoring. Authoring is when you wanted to define your own business process, you will be able to create your own business process from taking information from the customer. So by that way, you can also create your own business process against each scope item. So once you create, if any solution value map, you can also create value map and value flow, solution flow diagram, and assign to solution flow diagram to the process authoring app. So by that way, this process authoring app will be useful to create customer specific business processes in Cloud ALM system. So if any documents against to the requirements, or if any document that are to be stored against a task or a user story, this documents related tile will be useful, so that where implementation team will be able to store all the documents against a task, against a requirement, against a test case. All these documents can be stored here. Once the system is set up, the tasks are prepared, the processes are executed, process authoring is made, and all the requirements are built, then the team will move for the testing process. So to test, there are 3 apps. One is test preparation app, the other one is test plan app, and test execution app. In the test preparation app, we create test cases here. We create test cases here. You can create a manual test case, and manual test case against, for example, say J60 accounts payable. So scope item, this is the scope item. And if any sub process, you can also, for example, give a sub process here. Process flow diagram, you can choose process flow diagram and save. So there are how many steps in the standard test case? There are several apps that are associated with this scope item. If you feel these apps are not needed to test, or if some of the apps are only needed to test, you can add to the scope. These are the things. Out of 31, there are only 3 apps are to be tested in order to test a business case, and we have saved. Now, if you see general information, go back general information, it is in preparation phase. So go back here. It is in preparation phase. That means the test case is under preparation. The test case is under preparation. As long as it is under preparation, we will not be able to execute it. The test case should be moved to status prepared. Then only you will be able to attach to the plan, and we will be able to execute. So as long as it is under preparation, we will not be able to do anything to the test case as far as test is concerned. So this test preparation app will be useful to create the test cases. And the test plan, we create a test plan here. We create a test plan for upgrade. We create a test plan, we give the required information, and we assign test cases. whatever test case that we have created, that test case will be assigned to a test plan. Whatever test cases that you have created. In our case, only one test case that we have created. If you have created 100 test cases, select all under test cases, assign to the test plan. This is our plan, test plan. Once the test plan is created, it is to be under in testing. Then execution, test execution. Then test execution. Our project is ERPfixers. So whatever test case, because test case is not showing because it is under preparation, not finished. So you will see all the test cases here. All the test cases here. Then we will be able to execute them. By that way, these three apps are related to test preparation, assign those test cases to the test plan, and executing a test plan. During execution, if any defects you see, those defects you can directly create at the time of test execution, or you can also manually create the defects. You can also manually create the defects here. Create a test case defect. Create a defect. This is the defect at accounts payable. This is the defect that we have identified at accounts payable. And at the document, test case, whatever it is, you assign that information. It is the defect. So that defect will be assigned to a priority. A newly created defect, or this is in progress, a postponed or closed, defect is closed. So by that way, once defect is closed, we will re-execute the test case, and we will process the test case to pass. By that way, you can also use the test case defects app. Features is the app in order to track the new features and its transport request. So for example, if you wanted to create a new feature, you can create a new feature here. You can create a new feature related to check printing. So like this, you can create new features, and you can assign transport request if any. These are transport requests. You will be able to assign transport request and other user stories related to user project task and references, additional information, and a priority. You can also assign to release, person responsible, rest of the things, and you can close. So by that way, you will be able to create new features in your implementation. So if you see here, starting from creating user IDs and pulling the cloud-related systems to the Cloud ALM. And once we see a project setup, here we created the project and we created the scope item. Then we executed those scope items using process app, and we created requirements, and we tracked the requirements in the task app, and new requirements, if any, that are non-standard, customer specific, we created new requirements, new business processes using process authoring app. Then we stored the documents related to process authoring, and we created some test cases, assigned test cases to test plan, and we executed the test cases. If any defects during test case, here itself we can here itself, you will be able to see here itself the test case and defects. You will be able to create. If not, you can also use the defects app. So, and you can also create on the top of the process ordering, you can also create new features that customer wants, and you can assign them a TR that can be moved from development system to quality system and quality system to production system. Here you can tell where the feature is. Once you see here, it is in implementation process. You can see here handover to test. You can also confirm successfully. If you wanted to bring back to the implementation, you will be able to send it back to the implementation team. By that way, new features also can be tracked here. And from one system to the other system, you can also move the TR from the Cloud ALM itself. Once these are the tiles related to project setup, these are the tiles related to design, build, and test. These are the tiles. And this is the tile related to system administration. These are tiles related to system administration. And what are the other tiles that we have? There are 3 tiles. One is overview tile. The other one is analytics and reports tile. If you take this overview tile, you can see here your project information, ERPfixers. So I wanted to track, I'm a project manager. I wanted to track my status of my activities. So scope, in the project overview, it will show project, task completion, unassigned task, today's events, and upcoming events, and tasks by type, by priority. You can also manage these tiles using manage cards. For example, if you do not want this information present, you do not want this, by this way, you can also control the screen. By this way, you can control, and you can only concentrate on the relevant information to manage your project. So this is one of the tile that will be used by the project manager or the program manager in order to verify the overall in order to see the overall picture about the project and its flow. If a program manager who manages different projects or a project director who manages several projects will have a cross project overview tile, wherein he can also manage he can also do cross project analysis and etc. Using this tile. If at all, if he wants a project director who controls different projects will be able to go to analytics app, and these are all KPI tiles. He will be able to execute each tile, see the data in analytical form, in a pictorial presentation. That is how these 3 apps are for reports and analytics. It is for the program managers and directors, these 2. It is for the project manager who wants to control, who wants to have a complete dashboard about his project. So that is how this is for one project. This is for several projects you will be able to view. So that is how this Cloud ALM is useful to manage end-to-end implementation for the cloud-centric solutions. So now I stop here. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask us now.
Great. And as we mentioned, any questions that you guys have, now is the time. We have a few minutes left, so make sure to drop them into the chat. And Dr. Robbie, while we're waiting for those questions to come in, are there any topics that you want to summarize on or any things that you want to go over?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Go ahead and see if those come in. So one question is, can you go over template tasks again? So somebody was confused. So you can't edit them, or can you just kind of re-go over that topic briefly?
A template tasks are flown from SAP Activate methodology. So those template tasks can be copied, and you can create your own task copying a template task. So the standard template task cannot be edited.
Mhm. Got it. And somebody asked, is template tasks different from subtasks? So are these two different things?
That's correct. Subtask is a child task under a task.
Awesome. So we'll get one more question in. So where does the functional consultant roles start in with cloud projects, and should they know technical stuff?
That's correct. It is a pre-built solution. Consultants, functional consultants working on any implementation project, that may be a public cloud or private cloud project, they start executing business processes, standard business processes using Cloud ALM. And they gather requirements using Cloud ALM. They manage their tasks using Cloud ALM. They test their test cases using Cloud ALM. So by that way, functional consultants will thoroughly work with the Cloud ALM in their entire implementation process.
I see. Um, so it looks like there's a couple more questions regarding the tasks. So in regards to project tasks, somebody asked, how would that differ from subtasks?
Project task is a task that is to be performed.
Mhm.
It's not a standard task. That is, project task is a manually created task.
I see. And then somebody asked, any scoop related to Rise SAP?
Sorry, any?
Yeah, any insights related to Rise SAP? Is there anything emerging? Is there anything new? Somebody was wondering.
Okay, there are actually two enablement options for the cloud customers. One is
Mhm.
Rise with SAP enablement, and other one is Grow with SAP. Rise with SAP enablement has two flavors. One is private cloud, and other one is public cloud. And Grow with SAP has only one enablement option, that is public cloud enablement option. So usually Rise with SAP is for large customers, Grow with SAP for small and medium customers.
Nice. Great. Well, that covers all the questions. We just have a few minutes left. So, Dr. Robbie, thank you so much. Any additional questions, everyone, just leave them below. And what we'll do is we'll be sending a document afterwards with everything written out, and you should receive that into your email. But once again, thank you so much, Dr. Robbie. That was fantastic. Um, yeah, once again, any questions, leave them below. But as for now, let's talk a little bit more about SAP and ERPfixers as we head out. So when you think about it, SAP forms, they don't guarantee answers, and consulting firms can be a commitment of time and money, and you're gambling on expertise. Why do we have these webinars? Why are we so vocal on the LinkedIn and trying to break into the SAP community? It's because we're trying to bridge that gap where there's a mixture of affordability with expertise and efficiency. And that's the basis of what ERPfixers is. So like I mentioned, we're the best of both worlds. We guarantee rapid responses from experts, and that's the important part. And all of those responses are tailored to your specific needs. So similar to how Dr. Robbie was um, giving the explanations here, we can do that for many different components of SAP. So thank you guys so much. Again, you can reach out to us on the website. We'll link Dr. Robbie's information as well. You can find him on LinkedIn. But any individual project needs, or if you have some questions regarding SAP, visit our website, fill out the contact us page, and we will be in touch. So once again, thank you to everyone for attending. We'll see you in the email recap.
Thank you. Thank you.